Hey, yo, guys, it's Guido coming at you with a Coffee Talk Supplemental. I'm going to turn the lights on here, guys. Hold on. There we go. Lights are on. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about this new patch, and the first thing I want to say is don't panic. Okay? It's not going to destroy the game. It's not the second coming of the IS3A, right? There are definitely some changes. There's some things you're going to have to get used to. There's a couple bugs and things that are happening. We're going to break down a little bit of this for you guys who maybe have been holding off. So my best advice right now is to not do anything with any of your tanks. If you've already dug into it, that's great. You may have already figured a lot of this out. We'll go through it and I'll show you some things. But if you're sitting back going, I don't know what to do, if you did nothing, it wouldn't matter. Because your equipment on all your tanks, minus the tier 3 and lower, we'll talk about that in a minute, all that stuff is still sitting there and it still works until the next patch. So you're going to have little warning symbols. We'll show you that. There's stuff going to be in the wrong spot. There's some things you can do to fix that. We're going to talk about it. But until the next patch, don't panic. It doesn't matter. It's all working. All right. Now you can start to go through it, change the positions of some things, get some of the new equipment, increase capabilities. That's all obviously a possibility with the new equipment. But if you simply did nothing, you really would not be hurt that bad. Okay. So we're going to break down some of this stuff. First thing I want to show you is that obviously the settings, and this doesn't have anything to do with equipment, but there is battle communication that's changed. So you've got enable, indicate communication on team panel, show sticky markers, show personal commands. Those are various things that you can do. Show base markers. This is the one I wanted to show you. I turned this off. I don't know if you've played a game, but the red little marker for the enemy cap is showing on the map. If you're brand new, that might be helpful to kind of give you a general idea of where it is as you're driving the tank. But I know where the caps are. I'm not that worried about it. If you're the same, you can turn that off right there. The thing I didn't like about it is it's red. And when I see something red on the map, that's a red marker, and that gets me worried right off the bat. All right, so that's the first thing that you can do settings-wise, as well as click on some of the battle communication stuff. Remember that your settings will change. I had a couple random settings that changed in there. I'm trying to think of the one. Oh, the cards down here for the tanks were small. That's also in the settings. For some reason it reset. So stuff like that will happen. You just have to dig around. If you see the little light thing right here, the 220, the little red number, that means something's changed. You can see in my missions. Earlier it was on my settings. When I went to settings, they showed all the different areas that have changed. So that's another way to sort of point you to where those things are. You can see that I've got the Polish tank, the buggy, and I have gone through the DSPZ ins. I will do a review on the tier 5. I'm on the tier 6. For the tier 5 and 6, I unlocked all the modules for those. For the tier 7, 8, and 9, I will grind those from stock. So you'll see that content coming up later. Okay, so you can see it's changed a little bit down here. You no longer have the modules, unfortunately. The only place right now that I can see you can really mess around with the modules is you've got to go to research. I don't like that very much, but there you have it. You can buy your modules from here if we go to the CS44. Actually, I haven't unlocked it, so it's not letting me do it yet, but it's all the same thing as far as buying the modules. I think that's less useful, potentially, but for me, a person who doesn't grind a lot of tanks, you guys will have to let me know how much you like or dislike that part of the UI change. It doesn't bother me too much because I don't have a lot of lines I'm going through. So I liked that you could hover over in this garage picture or garage UI and kind of find out the information about those modules. So it's a little bit irritating that they took it out. Over here, they have changed this a little bit. You can see that what your bonuses are with various things that you put on the tank, which is very cool. So for example, firepower, and I have a dispersion bonus, and it comes from this thing, the improved rotation mechanism class 2. We'll talk about the classes and things later. So it's very cool that you can see that information right over here on the main page, and that will happen for the spotting stuff that gives you a bonus. In fact, well, that's interesting. Why are my optics not showing that? I guess very interesting. You can hover over it like this as usual. So I am getting my plus 38 for coated optics, but it doesn't show it there. That's interesting. So this equipment is shown. There you have it. Very strange. Okay, well there you go. So So I've got a bonus to repair speed because I've got, actually some of this is from crew, or sorry, some of this is from consumables as well. That's right. So the consumables here, you can see -5 to stun and +15 protection. That's actually showing up over here now under the survivability tab right here. So if you close all these things down, obviously all this stuff goes away and it makes it neater. Then you can just look at the thing that you want. Firepower, and I have 12.5, -12.5 dispersion, and that is from the piece of improved rotation mechanism. You can see it written right there. So that's actually very nice. So a little bit more information, a little bit more useful information on the main page right here is very good, although they took the modules out, like I said. So how do we change all this stuff? Let's start with the equipment, and we'll get into, it's not the equipment, but with the consumables, and we'll get into the equipment in just a minute. So consumables are pretty, it's fairly intuitive. Here they are. You got your consumables. You can click on this and go over to your ammunition. This used to all be kind of one piece of UI, user interface. This is, I don't know, the slider, I liked the clicky up and down. This is big pictures for the learning impaired, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's different. It's certainly prettier. It's got a, big pictures of the shells and nice big numbers, but the sliders just do the slider thing. What would be really nice is if you went past this, it took one of these down. In fact, I think if it was armor piercing and AP composite, what I would do with this UI wise, once I hit that stop, it would start moving the AP composite or the gold round, whether it's heat or APCR, down. That's how that should work. I suppose it'd be fine if it was hard stop there, but anyway, there's 2 extras, so they probably didn't go too much with it. And what is it? Oh, that changes the position. Look at that. All right, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I actually like that. That's not bad at all. There you go. You can actually change that. See how it's swapping it down here? Very cool. I just learned that myself, so I like that. Very cool. Auto resupply is here. It should be ticked. Can you do it for everything? And if I unclick it, is it unclicked for everything? Uh-oh. No, it is not. So you can auto resupply just your consumables or just your ammo. I would suggest obviously turn it on. I think it's auto on for everything, or it's probably set to whatever you had set earlier would be my assumption. But mine were all set. Mine was turned on, so everything is good to go. You can also do your directives by clicking on this. Equipment and crew. Got the nice big pictures right there. There's a little exclamation saying directive has no effect. Why that would not be just shadowed out, it will let you put it on. But it says it has no effect. Whatever. I don't know. I guess maybe there's a reason for that. Perhaps you can put it on there and then you can move equipment around and see what it does. That's a possibility. Because as you can see, if you were in here trying to figure out what it did to your various stats, you could open these things all up, and then as you change everything around, it will change over here, and that's actually pretty nice. Give you a general idea of what your bonuses are going to be. So maybe that's kind of cool because I can go vents, and then I can come over here and I can put vents on and then see what it does. So, all right, I'll buy that. So we can do the directives, we can do the consumables. This is a little funky. We're gonna, can we take this out? Yes, we're gonna send this to depot, and we'll send this one to depot. And then it's, depending on which one you have clicked on, that's where it's gonna go. So you click, and then if I do this, it puts it there. So be careful where you click on, boom, no, oh geez, see, that's why it's a little funky. I'm like, oh geez, so now I've got to go down here. That's the slot I wanted in. That little highlight thing says that's where you're working. It's not enough to have the little square. You got to have a nice little spotlight there, and then I can put that one in. All right, I didn't make a change, so it's not asking. Let's see if we do this. There we go. So I have to apply if I'm going to make an actual change. But since I didn't make a change, it recognizes that. All right, that's the ammo. That's the equipment. Now we come over here to, the ammo and the consumables. Now for the equipment. All right, guys. This is, I think, probably the biggest deal for everybody. First thing second. We go to garage. This little symbol is the bonus slot, which you will get at tier 6, I believe. Let me just double check that. Correct. Tier 5 and below does not have the bonus slot. It has tier 4 and 5 has 3 slots, but do not have bonus slots. At tier 6, you get this little bonus symbol right here, and there's 4 kinds of equipment. And it should, I thought, there we go. That's a mobility, which is what mediums have. So when we click on equipment, that particular slot is the one that gives you a bonus. And if you look at this, it's giving me 12.5. If I do this, I'm at 10%. on my improved rotation mechanism, right? So that's what that slot does. If you put a mobility piece of equipment in the mobility slot, boom, you get extra percentage. It works better. That makes pretty good sense. These little symbols up here on each card will tell you what type it is. This one happens to be 2 types, which means it's firepower and mobility. That allows the heavies and the mediums, I think the heavies, no, the heavies have, the heavies have, whatever this one's called, survivability. So mediums or SPGs and TDs can use this same thing for 2 different types, either mobility or firepower. Probably confuse some people on that, but there you go. That is what that means. Now, let's go find some tanks because I want to show you something that's important and it's driving people a little bit crazy right now. So we're going to go to some of our tier 7s. Tier 7 is one of the tiers where you're going to have a lot of tanks like this. And what's happened is you have, let's see if we can find one. There we go. There's a warning. Let's see if we can find one with 2. There we go. There's one with 2. What you have at tier 7 is the equipment has been upgraded to a class 1, which is the top class. Okay, the best. There's class 3, class 2, class 1. And it's up by tier, and they cost more as they go, the class 1 being the most expensive. So your equipment on your tier 7s is going to be generally class 2 equipment required, but you probably have a bunch of class 1 on your tank because Wargaming has transitioned all those pieces of equipment to class 1 so that you don't lose money. All right. Right now it will work, and this is what I was talking about earlier. It will work fine in that slot, no problem. I wonder if it'll let me do this. It will let me do that. All right, that's good. That's good. If you want to take it off, it's going to cost you a whatever the little ticket thing for taking it off is called. All right, this is driving me crazy. McAfee is all over my case. All right. So if you want to take it off, it's going to cost you, and let's see if we can do this. We're going to right click and we're going to demount to depot. So it's either, actually it's going to let me do that for free. Interesting. Hold on a minute. I thought it was going to cost me. All right, it looks like it's going to be for free. All right, that works. So it looks like if it is one of the equipment and slot categories match, it looks like if it is one of the, what are they calling that little thing right there? High class equipment, if you can see it right there. Okay, this equipment can be demounted for free and remounted on another vehicle of a suitable tier. All right, I didn't realize that. I thought it was gonna cost you. So you can demount that for free. That's a good thing, but it still works. All right, and it will stay on your tank. This piece of class 3 equipment, or class 1 equipment, sorry, will stay on your tank until the next patch. At which point, all of the equipment that has this little arrow on it will be stripped off of your tanks, put into your depot, and you're going to have to buy the class 2 equipment or whatever class it happens to go to, because some of the lower tier tanks will have some of the same thing going on. But it's okay because this is sellable for 300,000, and the class 2 stuff is about, I want to say 200 or so. Okay, it varies a little bit amongst the equipment. The point being that if you simply replaced every piece of equipment that gets stripped off of your tanks, these lower tier tanks, okay, and if you just simply replaced it one for one, you put a class 2 rammer on this and you stripped off the class 1 and sold it, you're going to make credits. You're going to make credits. Now, it's not going to be a perfect analog because you may want to use some other equipment, some of the new stuff that you don't have a whole lot of that they just created. Does that make sense? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off, actually, just as an example. Okay, this is a class 1. We're going to take it off. Actually, let's just do something real quick because I want to show you how this is going to work. We're going to go to depot, and we're going to go to equipment, and we're going to see how many class 1 rammers do I have. I have 3 in the depot. Okay, so we'll go back to here, and we'll find this same guy. Where is he? This is him. Okay, so I have 3 of those in the depot. I'm going to demount this. Yep. Now remember, if you demount this class 1, you cannot put it back onto this tank. You will have to put a class 2 on, which is fine if you own a class 2. Otherwise, you're going to have to buy one. All right. So we're going to demount. Gone. Okay. So it should be now in my depot. Let's find out. There should be 4 in there. There it is, right? There's 4 in there now. All right. So we'll go back to garage. We'll go back to my ISU, and I want to put a class 2 rammer, which is right here. And it should give me, I have 16 in the, I have 16 in there, so I'm not gonna be able to buy it. The purchase is 300,000. All right. Now that's interesting because I thought 300,000. See, now that's interesting. That's a different price than I thought. I thought it was only up to 200. So that's going to be a wash, I believe, because if I go back to Depot and I try to sell a class 1, I get, so it's a wash on the rammers. Very interesting. Also, I don't see how in here, and the one thing that was brought up by some of the, I guess I got to go to the store, don't I? Because the Depot doesn't buy stuff. Let's go back to the store. And now let's jump down to, where is this stuff? I think this is it right here. Here we go. Equipment. So let's go gun rammer from 300,000. Proceed. There we go. So I can get a class 2 or class 1. So the rammers at least are 300 and 600. Let's go back and take a look at something else. There we go. This one I believe has 3 classes. There we go. So 600, a class 2. So in case of the rammer, it's a wash, right? You sell the type 1, the class 1 for 300. You buy a class 2. It's a wash. In the case of coated optics, though, you see your class 1 for 300. You buy your class 2 for 200, and you're 100,000 credits ahead. And that's going to change a little bit along the way for equipment, but that is the general gist of what I'm talking about right there. So I go back to the garage. I want to go ahead and buy this. It's going to cost me 300, it looks like, huh? So I'm going to buy a rammer. Actually, all I have to do is apply because I've got one in the Depot, but I'm going to apply a class 2 to this bad boy. And now I don't have the little marker, but I am using a firepower item in a firepower slot. So I have minus 11.5 instead of minus 10 to my reload time. That's the bonus that that little slot is going to give. And you'll notice that I still have a class 1 vent. So let's try this. Class 1 is worth 300. We're going to go ahead and demount this. All right, so that goes in. We're going to grab a class 2. Looks like I have 9 in there. So we'll just add the class 2 to it. And now those little markers are gone, and I have a class 2, still giving me the same percentage that's sitting there. Vents, by the way, guys, are all three. They can go into any slot. There's survivability, scouting, firepower, mobility, which means that I have +5 to crew skills. If I take it and drag it over to this, if I can get a hold of it, drag it over to the special slot here, because it's all 4 categories. Now I'm getting +6 instead of +5. You can see that right there. But I'll just leave the rammer on there for the bonus. All right, that's how all that works. Pretty down and dirty, fellas. Pretty easy. That's what the symbols mean, the little arrows. Don't panic. You are, in general, going to make some credits out of this. At the very worst, it's a wash, i.e. in the case of the gun rammers. The other thing that we'll talk about, though, real quickly, and I'm going to see if we can find a different. Let's go to higher tier tank. Take a tier 9. Okay. Go to the patent. There are a lot of other kinds of equipment out there. Okay. I'm going to jump in the Depot first, though, and show you this. So I can figure it out. Where are these things? That's up here, isn't it? All right. Some of your old equipment got converted into some of this new stuff like improved hardening. So you can see that I've got 2 improved hardening class 1, and I ended up with 1 class 2. I have moved a few things around, so to be honest, one of these actually came off one of my lower tier tanks. I think it was the class 2, was sitting on something that had, I don't remember if it was a toolbox or what it was that got converted, but you might want to dig around. Your tier 1 through 3 should all be stripped clean, but I actually found a couple pieces of equipment still sitting on them, and I'm not exactly sure. I think it was a conversion thing, and one of them was this class 2 improved hardening, which is not usable, I believe, right now at that tier, but it was going to work until the next, up until the next thing. So, hold on. Potential spam. All right, so that's what I wanted to show you on that. And like I said, there are some new there are some new pieces of equipment, modified configuration. I happen to have 7 sitting around. All right, they got converted. They got 7 of those. You have the improved, not the vents, the improved hardening. You have some bounty stuff. We're going to talk about bounty and improved equipment in just a minute right there. And why? That's because I'm in the depot. Let's go to the store. I'm only looking at what I have. So we go to the depot. We got this Commander's Vision system. We've got improved radio set, which is interesting. We have the improved rotation mechanism, modified configuration, improved aiming. Quite a few new things in here that do extra little stuff. Low noise exhaust system for scouts, improved hardening, and the turbocharger I think has changed just a little bit as well. So really there are some interesting little builds. I think that generally you're still looking at firepower being the best thing for the tanks, but in the case potentially of mediums and light tanks, some of the vision stuff is very interesting. And I've got a couple builds I'm working with that. I'll get into that in another video. And then mediums, there's a couple builds in there as far as just accuracy goes, and that's mostly gunnery and things like that. That can be very interesting as well. So my advice then still remains, don't go through your whole garage and start stripping stuff off. You can play perfectly well with the way the stuff is. Take a couple of your tanks that you're interested in or that you're playing and start playing around with it, kind of learn how stuff comes off and goes on. If you're tight on credits, I'd be very careful. For me, not a big deal, but as a general rule, anything that you're stripping off and replacing, right? Anything that shows a little arrow and says it doesn't work or it will work, that's a bad word. Anything with a little arrow that says it's not compatible, all that means is it will work until the next patch, and then it'll be stripped off. And even if you did strip it off and replace it, if you sell that, it's going to be a 1-for-1 replacement or a slight bonus in credits for you. The last thing we'll talk about is the improved and bounty equipment. And unfortunately, this is one of the places where you did get kind of screwed a little bit, and I'm not particularly happy about it. It really gets into, for me, the difference between kind of screwing over the players and balance. If there was a compelling balance reason for the bounty equipment to not be as good as improved equipment, and it was causing an issue in the game balance-wise, then I'm on board. Just like I'm on board for nerfing premiums and reward tanks if they're causing a problem. I don't care. That's a game balance issue for me. I don't want it to be wrong, to be necessarily arbitrary and capricious like sometimes that happens, but the idea that you don't touch premiums or reward tanks simply because that's what they are is irritating to me. Now, in the case of this, though, unfortunately, I think it's a bit of a screw job. Wargaming sold a bunch of the Battle Pass things with the idea that you could get this bounty equipment and then you could spend $3 million to improve it and it would become just like improved equipment, and then they changed it on us. And I don't go crazy about bait and switch, and this is a small thing, but it is a bait and switch. It is. Wargaming charged people to get the Battle Pass, and to be fair, it wasn't just those things that were in there, just the bounty equipment, but those were the big draw. They really were some of the big draws, that and bonds. They said, look, bounty equipment, you pay $3 million, it's the same thing as improved equipment, and then they pulled the rug out from under it, and now your bounty equipment is a percentage less. So it's equipment, bounty equipment, and then improved equipment. The only thing I can say with that, folks, is clearly they got a ration from probably the high-end players, the people who are getting the purple equipment through bonds, and they caved to it, I guess. Otherwise, I can't see a compelling balance reason why that mattered. I feel like all that was a bunch of complaints from entitled players who got that stuff through competition and getting bonds and were angry people could buy them, I guess. That's the only thing I can come up with, because clearly bounty equipment isn't in there ruining the balance of the game. So why it needed to be changed after you sold it as such, right? That's the thing, man. It's either a balance problem or it's not. And if it's not a balance problem, Wargaming, you sold it to us as such and now changed. That's not good. That's not good. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Just a quick down and dirty on some of the things. I still haven't seen, getting ready to stream here, I still have not seen Pearl River, so hopefully I see that today. That'll be cool. But the rest of it, I played some of the Polish tanks. I have messed around with the equipment a little bit. I have a nice build on my LHM TV for Vision that I've been playing around with just a little bit right there. You can expect a review on the Polish tank, the Tier 5 especially. The Tier 6 shouldn't be far behind. I'll be doing that on stream today and should be done with it on the grind, and we'll move on from there. But look, guys, don't panic. It's different. There's a few more clicks required. It is relatively intuitive. I don't like that I can't see the modules or mess around with them on the main page here, but that's a small thing. And I didn't realize this repairs button, does it? Repairs not required. Oh. I don't. Okay, well, there you go. If for some reason you have not clicked repair automatically, you can click that and repair your tanks manually. If that's, I just noticed that. That's crazy. All right, that's it. Down and dirty. You guys have a good day. Little Coffee Talk Supplemental, 2 videos on a Tuesday. That's all I've got. See you guys later.